Yes. Yeah. Right speaking to me.
Do not raise your voice to me, sir.
Do you know because of conflict, you can fight with your destiny helper? Because of conflict, many people have lost valuable relationships. Because of conflict, nations in today's world are fighting because of conflict. And it seems like as a society, as young people, we don't have the understanding of, going about conflict. Every effort you put in life is an investment. The universe is the accountant. So the effort you put in is what you call your investment into life, the defining your future. Welcome, guys. Welcome, guys. Hello, everyone. Can I see who is online this evening? Yes. Can I see who is online this evening? Can we hear me? Can I have some music, please? Who is online? I want to see your names. Can the admin show me the comment of those that are online, please? Thank you. What's up, guys? We're back again. We're back again to our monthly webinar at Prime Council. I just want to see those that are online this evening. I can't see the comments online. Okay. I can't see it. I need to see it pop up on my screen. Okay, I can see Raphael. Yes. Yes, so admin, can we display the chat from the studio? Yes, Timothy. Okay, I can see Akinola. And can you hear me, guys, clearly? Can you hear me? We're about to go in on fire tonight. Just one more minute and we're just gonna fly. Okay, I can see Mary from Nigeria. Is my sound okay, guys? Do you like my sound? Okay. Yeah, I can see Busayo. Okay. Guys, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our monthly webinar at Prime Council. I think it's been a while. We saw over 1 month ago. I've missed you guys. I've missed you guys. Honestly, I've missed you guys. And thank you for joining. Just before we fly tonight, I want you to share the links, invite all your friends, all your family. It's gonna be a wonderful time. And I think I'll start this way. I'll start this way. I was just thinking about it, that why are we doing how are we doing? You're doing monthly webinars. Um, we have the volunteers group that were impacting different sort of like structure programs. And it boils down to the message that we always share, that once there's no purpose, then there cannot be any sustainability or consistency in any vision. And for example, yesterday I got a call from one of my long-term friends in America, and he was just sharing how our message, all what we've been putting out, has been blessing lives over there in America, and speaking, ahead of the vision, ahead of the many young people we're impacting. And I was really, really, humbled. I was really, really encouraged. And it's such a privilege to have over 200 people, listening to you. And why am I saying this? The distance between when you prepare and your manifestation in today's world is shortened. So I'm speaking, to young people that are on this call this evening. That's just a few years ago. That's, let's say, 10 years ago. Someone spoke to me. It was in an uncompleted building in Lagos State, Nigeria. And he said, when I shared my burdens, my vision with him, and he said, you're going to be speaking to a large audience, in the time to come. And, because of your sort of your structure, your personal discipline and all of that. And he said that in an uncompleted building. And I was just reminiscing on that word he said more than 10 years ago. And today, we have many people on the live stream. We have many people that are still going to watch the replay. We have many people on Instagram watching. We have people on, Facebook watching. And, it's just humbling to see that what was said just a few years ago is now manifesting. And this is to encourage someone out there that is still debating on living a life of purpose, living a life of profit, living a life of peace. Is it worth it? Guys, it's worth it. Because as much as the distance or the journey from, you preparing to manifestation is shortened, the effect of not rising is also quickened. So in today's world, within 5 years, you can get to the top in any sphere of influence within 5 years. But that if you don't get to the top, what happens? You spend all your whole life, being at the bottom of the ladder. So you see the understanding there, that as young people, as middle-aged people, as parents, or as anything we are, anything that is worth doing well and in time. Because nowadays we get a cash out on our investments. So why am I saying this? Now we're speaking about mastering the act of conflict resolution. And this is a very crucial topic, because you can't talk about rising to the top. For those that are new here, we started from January, February, March, April, May, and in the January webinar, Scaling the New Right, we spoke about the ladder of success, from existence to survival to you thriving. They're talking about impact, purpose, and legacy. And that to scale this different scale of influence or ladder in life, you're definitely going to meet opposition. However, not many people have the understanding. Not many people have the mentality, that victor's mentality. Because if we're talking about a victor, talking about an overcomer, that's someone that's overcome a particular battle. First of all, from internal battles you faced, in terms of your self-doubt, belief system, imposter syndrome, the Kruger's effect that many people fight inwardly. Now talk about external voices, like the voices of mockery, voices of criticism that you get even from your parents, even from your siblings, from your colleagues, from your bosses. And these voices all together play, a lot of role in how scale that ladder of influence, scale new heights in our destiny. And we're going to speak on a very crucial topic in today's world: conflict resolution. Conflict is woven into the fabric of human existence. From the international borders to boardrooms arguments to bedroom echoes, clashes of value, interest, and perspective are inevitable wherever people are gathered. So that if we stay long enough on this particular call, there's no how there will not be a conflict of interest, conflict of time, conflict of passion. So anywhere 2 or 3 people are gathered, you will always find a difference in opinion and value system. So we can't do it, away with conflict. So rather than just, avoiding it or playing a blind game to it, we need to learn on how we can master it so that it doesn't impede our growth. We live in a age where everything is louder. Opinions, emotions, reactions. From social media to politics, family circles and faith, even in faith communities, even in churches, there's conflict. Conflict is no longer occasional. It's cultural. But here's the truth. Conflict is not our enemy. Having conflict or being in a conflicted situation is not the enemy. The major enemy is the mismanagement of it. We live in a world that knows how to clap back, but don't know how to sit down and talk. There's criticism. Everybody has a content online, on Instagram, on TikTok, speaking on a social issue, on an economic issue, on a political issue. But remember that talk is cheap. And when it gets to the realm of analyzing problem, everybody has an idea. But offering solution is very, very difficult. So in today's world, for example, you don't agree with somebody, you can just press a button on your WhatsApp and you block the person. You can just, ghost somebody and not even reply them again. That's the advantage of what we have in today's world, but it's also crippling our human relationships. So today's webinar is not about avoiding conflict. It's about rising above it with character, with conviction, and with confidence. If you're very fervent with the news, you will see that there are many wars that are going in today's world. You see, for example, the Israel war and Iraq and Iran war. You see many wars, for example, where I come from in Nigeria, and other ethnic wars, economic wars, and religious wars. So we see between religion, both interfaith and interfaith movements, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, different version of Christianity, different version of Islam. And this is not new. We see that, for example, in the Bible. Someone will say, I am for Paul. Another will say, I'm for Apollos. So you see that once human beings are involved, there will always be differences in belief. And there's also conflict between social classes and ideologies. There's conflict today in Gaza, in the parliament, and on our WhatsApp group in our family. For many of us, we have WhatsApp group in our families. And even that you would think maybe what brings us together is unity. Yes, but if you stay long enough, then there's conflict. Now you think, oh, the earth is so perverse. Oh, well, this earth is messed up. But there was war in heaven also. There was war in heaven. So there's no system that is really perfect. There is no system that is really, really perfect. And the presence of conflict is not a sign of dysfunction, nor a sign of failure. Jesus never ran away from conflict. Yes, he knew that conflict, when well handled, will become a catalyst for growth. And that's the understanding we want to press on today. That is not about avoidance, but about going to resolve it, about resolution. So that's what we're saying, mastering the act of conflict resolution, not avoidance. It is the absence of resolution and mismanagement of conflict that breeds what we know as rebellion, division, envy. Even in marriages, divorce, conflicts. It's conflict-based, resentment, and emotional disconnection. And guess what? This is very, very important, guys. Very, very important for all our audience tonight. Many of our audience tonight, for example, are educated. We've all been to different institutions, whether it's the primary or secondary or tertiary institutions. But among all the curriculum, we went through, was there anyone that taught us about how to resolve conflict? There was none. We know about physics, about biology, and many of those courses. Well, I don't know if anyone on this live channel, for example, went through a class that is about mastering conflict resolution. So there was no class in school that was called how to resolve a broken relationship. No wonder if you see the statistics of relationship, breakdown, relationship failure into this work is exorbitant. Yet, look at the emphasis there. Yet, this is one of the most important life skills. Because we are imperfect people, we are always bound to clash. And I'm going to be showing you, can we have my slides? Can you have my slides? I'm going to be showing you something about what we call the inherent attributes and the acquired attributes. So when we speak about inherent attributes, we're saying what you're born with. So, for example, everyone on this call tonight, on our different channel, is born with a personality trait. So you can say, I'm a sanguine. Guys, can you mention it? I'm phlegmatic. You see that? Some people say I have a hot temper, your temperament. So these are all your inherent attributes, things that you were born with, including your temperament and your personality as the major core of your inherent attributes. I want you to follow my line of thought this evening, guys. Now we go to acquired attributes. Acquired attributes are attributes that you learn over time. These ones are attributes that you are not born with them, but you will learn them over time through knowledge, understanding, and you're applying yourself to transformation and something like emotional intelligence. And so I'm sure many of us have heard what we call emotional intelligence. It's trending into this world because there's so much conflict at workplace, in your family, even with yourself. So emotional intelligence, we have learned something about perception management. So you see the train of thought here that you have the inherent attributes, which is your temperament and your personality, things that you're born with. You just find yourself. You just know that, for example, you grew up being tough. You grew up being a hot-tempered person. But that's yes, you can have my slides. But that acquired attributes are attributes that you will learn, self-learning, intentional learning, emotional intelligence, and perception management. So we see something here. A very, very crucial thing I want you guys to learn tonight is most people glory and enjoy the feeling of saying, that is how I am. So you see many people, they say they want, in excusing their abnormalities, their excesses, and their extremism, they say, that is how I am. I'm just like that. But everybody on today's call must get to that point where you say, I want to move from that is where, or that is who I am, to that is who I want to be. So every person on this call this evening, definitely, we have not yet attained that perfect state of existence. So there is always room for growth. So you must get to that point this evening and make a commitment that you want to move from that is who you are as a person, in terms of your temperament, in terms of your personality, to who you want to become, an emotionally intelligent individual, an individual with a high level of perception management that is able to relate with all that expertise in his or her world. And here's the catch. You know why this is very important for everyone? It's not optional. You're going to definitely face conflict, both internal and external. So the question is not about if conflict will come. No. The major debate here is that how do we respond to conflicts? So you either react with emotions from that standpoint of your emotions, your inherent attribute. That is how I am. For example, you say, if you've been corrected, if you've been chastised, for example, as a young person or as an adult, you say that is who I am. Or you respond with wisdom through the lens of emotional intelligence and doing webinars like this to improve your understanding, your concept of conflict. Can we have my slides? Can we go to the conflict is not equal to God's displeasure? Conflict is not equal to God's displeasure because we have people, for example, on this call that might be religious, and we will carry that guilt of thinking, for example, I don't have to be so tough. I've been caught, for example, you say, I've been told that once someone slaps me on my cheek, I turn the left cheek. Yes, but we must remember that life is about context. In scaling new heights, definitely we've said it before, and I think in our third webinar, that definitely you will need to have the sheep mentality and the lion mentality, and you will not always have either one, but you will need to have the duality of it. And depending upon the situation who you are speaking to, the context, the situation, you will know which one to dispense. For example, if somebody is trying to hinge on or cringe on your conviction, for example, you tell me, because I've been told to do as I say, and you say go kill somebody, of course you're going to definitely enforce and say no with so much confidence because you know that's wrong. And I've spoken, for example, we're going to be covering later about positive rebellion and positive compromise. That how do you know which one to implement is when it doesn't affect your conviction. So you can do every other thing except when it tampers with your conviction. So can we go to the slides? Sometimes conflict doesn't mean God is against you. Yes. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, next slide. Yes, that's it. Yeah, back. Sometimes conflict doesn't mean God is against you. Most times when we face conflict, especially as young people, especially as Generation X and Generation Z in today's world, is because we are stretching and growing to the next level. Stretching into new levels brings birth pang. For example, we have people that want to, people that are pregnant, they're going to go into the labor room. Definitely, they're going to have conflict. They're going to be in pain. They're going to be in uneasiness because something is betting forth. And sometimes what we call conflict, what we call peace. For example, you hear someone say, I'm a peaceful person. I love soft life. No. Yes, it's good to value peace. But that sometimes or most times, what people call peace is actually just compromise and comfort in dysfunction. So that unnecessary or unhealthy love for peace brings about a comfort in dysfunction. And most times when you go edit those people emotional intelligence, you see that, for example, they are battling with inner issues of thoughts and heart. And many of us, we are bearing that. For example, if we speak to everybody on this call this evening, you have something on your mind that is bothering you. Bible says, woe to them that is in Zion. Woe to them that is in Zion. That's if you, especially as a young person, if you decide that you're just going to be peace or comfort pro max, you're never going to scale any height, because on your way, you're going to find oppositions, an enemy, and those against your convictions. The war young people face today. Many young people face war in today's world. For example, bullying. We have internet bullying. We have both online and offline bullying. We have misunderstood convictions and mocked values. Workplace pressure and cultural tension. Many of those things we face. Family expectation clashing with our personal purpose. So, for example, you want to study something different, something lucrative you're passionate about, and because of family tension and expectation, you're forced to, and you're not happy doing that, and you bear that grudge and that burden. Conflict is no longer just a fist fight. So now we're not saying, oh, I don't like fight. It's not about just physical fights. Now it's emotional, it's psychological, it is spiritual and systemic. It is systemic. And we want to know the hidden cost of unresolved conflicts. Look at the emphasis there. The hidden cost. Most times we don't see what we lose by not resolving conflicts, by avoiding conflicts. Research has shown that the average person spends over more than 3 hours per week navigating disagreements. That's nearly 5 days, more than 5 days in a calendar year. And guess what? For young leaders, it's often double, especially as you challenge the status quo. So for young leaders, for many people that are young leaders, you're going to spend more than 1 week or 2 weeks in a full year resolving or avoiding or dealing with conflict. And every unresolved conflict costs you even internal things. For example, your peace, your sanity, you thriving friendships and relationships. It affects your mental health. Unresolved conflicts. It affects majorly internally. You lose your peace, your tranquility, your sanity, thriving relationships and friendships. I want to understand why people fight, because we've seen people that, they're just unnecessarily erratic. You want to know why. Conflict is not random. There are roots behind it, and we've said there the last webinar we spoke about rooted. That for anything you want to see, or for anything you see on the outward, is based on something internal. So we see that what you see as fights, as envy, as strife, they have what we call underlying mental or mind condition. The same way you have underlying health condition. So you see someone that has headache and you go check, okay, the person has underlying health condition. The same way conflict has roots. And we have 5 major sources of conflict in today's world. 5 major sources of conflict. Number 1, differences in your values and opinion. So if on this call tonight, we have many people, we have hundreds of people on the live stream tonight. So also our values and our opinions will be different. So for example, somebody will have an opinion on why, for example, I put this mic here. Why can't I put it here? And that can result into conflict. What matters to you does not matter to them. So guys, I want you to begin to understand these things, that this is the reason why you're fighting with your spouse, those that are married. This is the reason why your employer, your boss is having arguments with you, or your lecturer, or your parents, because we all have different emphasis. So what matters to you does not matter to them. And if you want to be so emotionally intelligent, you have to begin to see more than just the surface, the obvious, the fruit, but you want to go downward into the root to see what matters to them. Why is this person unnecessarily angry? There is a root. Differences in communication. We have communication barriers. It's not about what you said, but how they heard it. Some people are just, for example, they've not worked on their inherent and acquired attributes. So some people are born naturally, shall I say, busty. They are born naturally loud. And for example, you go into a setting, a meeting, for example, because you're naturally loud, people will perceive you as lousy. Meanwhile, you were born with that. But because you've not attended a session like this, you know that you have to work on your inherent and acquired attributes. You have to work on your perception management. You have to work on your emotional intelligence to know how to speak, how to tone down your voice. There's always clash. So communication is how you speak. Perception is how they hear you. Guys, I want you to catch this. Communication is how you speak. You send sounds out, you send words out. But it's still dependent, it's still limited to how the other person hears what you say. And that's why every word we say has a bit of emotion in it, has a bit of context, of texture in it. So we have to get the understanding of communication and perception management. The third one is unmet needs or unspoken expectation. Every human being is driven by a need. For example, to feel heard, to feel respected, or to feel safe. For example, nobody is perpetually going to remain humble and calm, and smiling when, for example, you are being disrespected, for example, in a workspace. So you can say, "Oh, Mr. Ayo, I'm a gentle person." Yes, you're gentle by default. Or when somebody starts to tamper on your human rights of respect, of you being heard, for someone shuts you down in a meeting, you're definitely going to have a boil up of emotions, and you want to speak out and defend, and that's conflict there. So unspoken expectations. Every human being wants to feel safe. If they don't feel safe, they become loud. The fourth one is the history of pain. History and pain. Old wounds often dressed up as present disagreements. Look at that. Very, very powerful. Old wounds often dressed up as present disagreement. That's why we're speaking about emotional intelligence. So that it's not just what they say, but what they are saying, what you hear and what they say. Sometimes you are not arguing with a person, you are arguing with their trauma. And while I was preparing myself for the webinar, we go through different materials. And in one of the materials, the video, she was saying somebody was unnecessarily lousy, bullying their colleagues at work. And she had to call this particular fellow, let's say Catherine, she said Catherine, for a one-to-one meeting, that see, you can't shout at people here, you're gonna get sacked. And just before Catherine came into the office, she heard that, oh, Catherine was not always like that. Someone was just person that said it. Guess what? When Catherine came into the office, she said, have you heard? Over 1 year ago, I lost my son tragically. And that history of pain, she dispensed it to other people. You see that? So the many people, for example, you fight. For example, I was having a conversation that was resulting into an argument, an heated conversation with somebody about a religious view. And the person was speaking. I was, also giving my strong reasons until the person mentioned about their history of how they've been blackmailed, betrayed, for example, by the church setting. And I said, wow, the person sees anything religion from that start point of pain and and hurt. And I told the person, I'm so sorry because I can't even have this argument with you because your judgment, your reasoning is already clouded by that experience. And until you get healed, until you get recovery, until you get therapy, you can't function at a well-balanced frame of mind because your judgment has been clouded. The fifth one is personal biases and personality difference, like we said. Some people are naturally chaotic. They have a difficult and biased mindset, and they've not gone through, an organized system to make sure that their inherent attributes, has been worked on, and make sure that they invest in their acquired attributes to refine themselves. And that's why, for example, at Prime Council, we are big on transformation. It's not about how you are now. It's not about, assist. It's about to be. Now, I've said something like your to-be list should be more than your to-do lists. Common areas of conflict, we know those. You can fight anywhere. There are issues everywhere in your workplace, employer to employee, your teammates, your colleagues at work, even in your family, your parents, your siblings, your spouse. There are heated arguments. Your friends and relationships. There are always arguments in social connections and also in your spiritual life. For example, many people have enemies in their religious settings. And most times, for example, you can be right with people and even wrong with God. So people even they are conflicted with God, even God that we're not seeing. People have issues with Him. Just think about that. So people are angry at everything. So people are angry at nature. So imagine you interact with this kind of people. It forms how you reason with them. Conflict in today's digital world. In the era of TikTok, of tweets, many of us react before we reflect. And I want to state this here for every young person on this call this evening, an average adult in today's world, and you've chosen to believe in this vision. And we've emphasized this, that the future is the major goal. We are working somewhere to get somewhere, a point of influence, a point of impact, and a point of income. And that everything you do from now henceforth, like the adage says, as you lay your bed, so you lie on it. And we've said, for example, many times in our webinars that most times you say things even online, and most times it comes back to bite you in the next 5 years. And we've seen people that have been victim of that. So I want us to note this. Next slide, please. We should not react before we reflect, especially online. And I took out time to touch on this conflict. There's so much conflict on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on different streaming, social media platforms, and people go there and they behave like people that are not emotionally intelligent. They don't have perception management, and people just speak out. For example, you say your mind, and you say your mind, and it comes back to haunt you in the next 5-10 years. And many people have had to hold back their words because they just react before reflecting. If you are part of this vision, if you believe in Prime Council, you should always reflect before reacting. I want you to start that, admin. Reflect before reacting. Because words have power in today's world, and we're gonna be seeing it. That what conflict is the major root cause is mostly instigated by the words of our mouths. Not if you discover nowadays what even is degenerates into physical fights or wars are the words of the mouth. You should always reflect before you react, not just in what you say, but in what you type now in today's digital world. So that you cannot just say you are at the corner of your space in Johannesburg or in New York or in Lagos or in Abuja, and you just say anything. You're just speaking out your mind, and you say you're scaling new heights, you're getting to the top. That is anti your vision. That's against your vision. So you should make sure you always reflect before reacting. Think about it. Have a structure in your mind. And I'll do well to explain some of these things. That definitely, we're not saying that you should not have disagreements. We're not saying you can't have a different opinion. But there's always a way of expressing yourself. And we're going to be going, even maybe next webinar, we're going to be covering how to even communicate. Because there's so much chaos in today's world that many young people, especially the Generation Z, they just go online, for example. You don't know that in expressing your value point, your view, it must always go through that framework, for example, of respect, of clarity, of solution. And you guess what? Many people, they just speak out. And sometimes when you listen to the voice behind some of the things they say, you see that talk is cheap, opinion is cheap. Say knowing a problem is the most basic thing. That you know a problem, that does not make you become a leader. The actual work is in solving it. And that there's a way you present your convictions, your opinions, your value system, that people know that this person, something is right up there. But that there's a way you speak and they can know that there's something going on internally. So always reflect before reacting. The world is training people to go viral, not to go deeper. So because people know that if I say a very erratic word, if I behave in a very, unsocial manner, if I say things that are anti-value system, anti-purpose, that goes viral. And that is the order of the world. And we've said it that you have to be rooted in times like this. So it's not just about you going viral, it's about you going deeper. Because trends will come and go. We've said that before, isn't it? But truth remains. In last webinar. And these things are fundamental. Because I see us raising generation of leaders that will redefine culture. And if you're going to redefine culture as a leader, you have a different framework of how you think and how you view life and how you respond to issues. That you speak with respect, you speak with confidence, you speak with conviction and intelligence. And that by the opening out of your mouth, they can know that, no, this person has been with prime counsel. Conflict online is rewarded with attention, not resolution. So you see a post that's insulted, for example, a political leader, a religious leader, or a business leader, and it has 100 million views and likes and appreciation for it. Meanwhile, guess what? Those issues don't even get solved. Most issues don't get solved in the comment section, but in the policy room. I'm raising you guys to get to the policy room, not on the comment section. Your power does not lie in the comment section. It lies in the policy room. I want you to start that, admin. Your power, your voice is better heard in the policy room than in the comment section. Because the person that the platform you're commenting on was made by somebody. And those people are the real policy makers. They just come and, it's like a battle of ants when two giant elephants are fighting. I want to get you guys to the elephant, to the room where you can make those decisions, where your voice can be heard. Most times, our voices are not heard on the comment section. Start at admin. Your voice should be heard more in the policy room than in the comment section. The key thought here is that, can you still communicate when you are misunderstood? Have you gained enough clarity in expressing your disagreements, your distaste for a particular opinion or a value system? Can you speak out against evil without being evil? Yes, many people speak about social vices, things that leaders do, but in doing that, they also indict themselves. Can you still sit long enough with offense even when you're not understood? Can you lead a team, a family, a movement without breaking under pressure? As a leader, can you do all of this in today's world? Many people have had to run away from social media because of conflicts. They will tell you the bullying is so much. No, they're not speaking to you. No. Why should you allow the voices and opinion of another person on the comment section get to you and hinder from your purpose? No. Understanding your conflict response style. So if you see this video, we did some videos from one of the volunteers, and they said, for example, I'm an avoider, I'm a confronter, I'm a peacemaker. We're going to be seeing what's your conflict response style, and everybody here belongs to these 4 categories. I know there are many, but we group them into 4. Number 1 is some people are avoiders. Who are the avoiders? They are the peace fakers. Peace fakers. See the emphasis there. peace fakers, they hope that the problem disappears automatically. They don't confront, they don't face problem, they avoid it. They pretend all is well. Oh, you've offended somebody, or someone offended you. How are you doing? No, I'm good. But meanwhile, they are boiling with anger, resentment, strife, and unforgiveness. Where the second one is the competitors. They want to win at all costs. Power players. Power players. And guess what? Guys, do you know that the first two categories are exhibited at a certain level of leadership? An avoider and a competitor. And do you know most of us, we or should I say majority of us, we are in that avoider stage. Yes. The third one, if you see, accommodator, they keep peace at their own expense, especially if you are from third world countries like Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, and for example, you transit or you travel out of a country. This has been one of the major crux of people in diaspora. They are accommodators. They keep peace at their own expense. You are working in a place, different race group, and you can't speak out against what they are doing against you. Speak out for yourself, defend yourself, say no, you're wrong there. These people are peacekeepers. So look at the emphasis there. So for the avoiders, they are peace fakers. For the competitors, they are power players. They just want to be in charge and they will trample on anybody. They want to win at all costs. Every argument, every debate, they want their voice to be heard. They can never apologize. And we have the fourth one, the collaborators. And this is where we seek win-win relationship. Or most times it takes time. These are peacemakers. So you see the emphasis there. The accommodators are peacekeepers, but the collaborators are peacemakers. And that is the perfect way of resolving conflict. When you can make peace, it has to do with active collaboration of both the offended party, okay, and the party that is offended. So you that's the victim and the person that is inflicting a hurt or a damage must come to that point of resolution. They call it, for example, in politics, a truce deal, ceasefire. We hear it. So you have to know your default style. For example, I was speaking to my wife, and this we were just speaking, I think, from days ago. I said, "Which one are you?" I said, "Well, I met you as an avoider, for example, but today you can collaborate because we have actively learned how to resolve conflicts, and we are still learning that the best and a win-win way of resolving conflict is to collaborate, where you speak about what has happened and you take active steps." And we're going to be covering that. So now, there are two major fundamental things that we need to learn in terms of going about conflict. That's like the raw material that you need to even go about resolving any conflict. Number one is courage. Courage. Why did I say courage? Courage to step away from our convictions, to become curious. Most of us, we are suffering from what I call, psychosclerosis, inflexible thinking. And that can be linked to what I said earlier on, that when you say, that is who I am, that is how I am, people are stuck in that limbo of inherent attributes, especially. You don't want to change, but in today's world, you want to translate different ladder. So also your emotional intelligence, your perception management. You can't be born, for example, as a hot-tempered person, and you want to live all your whole life, and you want to experience what we call transformative leadership. It's not possible. You're going to hurt many people along the way, and you're going to get hurt. So you need courage, number one. I want you to start that at the main, courage. Number two is humility. I want you to, bold in that. Courage and humility. Why do you need humility? Humility to receive and open yourself to other perspectives. You need courage. You need humility to be able to receive, to be flexible enough, to learn, to say, for example, I'm sorry, to say please, to say thank you. Do you know these three words? And I shared it. These three words can solve and disseminate wars, arguments. Do you know how many relationships have broken down because one party cannot say I'm sorry? One party cannot say please. Look at that. So you must get to that point of humility to know that you will not always be right, and you definitely going to offend somebody, and you also will be offended. So that some people, for example, they don't even have to receive apologies. Yes, they are good at enforcing that you have offended them, but when you not come to that state of sorry, they don't even have to receive it. They like that state of of being offended, because they can put you in that state of victim mode. Look at that. They enjoy keeping you in that state of victim mode, and they want to offer that forgiveness that relieves you of that burden of the offense. So you need humility and courage. So we have to know our default style this evening and know that we have to change. If you're an avoider, you must get to that. You must work your way down to becoming a collaborator. You can't just fake peace anymore, because it does damage to you. It does damage to the relationship around you. You can't just be a competitor. No, you will not always be right in your work space, even in your relationship. If you're married, you can't always be right. You must come to that point whereby you are a collaborator. That you always say, for example, "Oh, I offended you. You offended me. I'm sorry. Please, thank you. Let's talk about it." And you know that, for example, even when there's an heated conversation, it is for the goal of resolving that issue, not anything personal. You must come to that point, if we are an accommodator, to hear your views, because you will be suffering from self-hurt, offense, and envy, grief, and it affects your mental health. And even medicine has told us that those things even affect your physical health. Envy drives the bones. A broken spirit drives up the bones. So we must get to that point, and I want you to understand this, guys, tonight, that you need courage and humility to step away from your convictions and to become curious, to learn from the other person, to listen attentively, to reflect before reacting. When fighting isn't necessary, guys, time flies on when we have this webinars. To be very honest, time flies, because there's so many things to share, and I'm just rushing to make sure that we make use of our time. When fighting isn't necessary, because we've said that you can't avoid conflicts, and especially for many of us that are Generation Z and Generation X, that will be in touch with conflict even twice as much as the average normal human being, because we are always against status quo. For example, our generation is the most vocal in history. We speak about anything. And a young person now can even speak against an 80-year-old pastor, an 80-year-old man, and they don't cease to hear your. And we're not saying no, shut down your voice. We are saying there's a way to go about it and make sure that you still maintain your human dignity. So when does fighting not become necessary? Because the time you used to fight is the time you waste. Is a wasted time. Fighting time is a wasted time. I want you to know that. And for example, if you look at Iran and Israel, that time they could have been spent in terms of national development. The resources spent has been wasted, lives lost. So we must get to that point whereby, yes, we cannot avoid coming 100%, but we must reduce the frequency. We must reduce the ratio. Joseph brother stripped him of his coat. I'm painting a story now. This can be you. This can be Timothy on this call. This can be Timothy on this call. You may have been blackmailed, bullied, despised, and in your back. And I've told you I've been victim of some of that before. But they could not strip him of his calling. He didn't go back to argue. He didn't throw insults or threaten revenge. Look at what he did. He simply rose to the top to become a prime minister. And look at that. Results chases insults. I'm going to shout it again. Results chases insults. But if it is about personal conflict, because we have spoken about national conflict, yes, you can hear your views, be in a policy room, but most of the conflicts in today's world, for example, are personal conflicts. In your relationships, in your workspace, among your colleagues, among your friends, certain things come to you because of your refusal to rise to the top. Results chases insults. Results chases insults. The power of positive and I've said it, you have to go watch that webinar. That's the I think the value of mentorship. Men are ladders, yes, webinar. Admin, can you post the links? Can you post our links? I want you guys also to subscribe to our channel. Can we post the Instagram link? Can we post the TikTok link? I've discovered that many people are not following us on our media channels, and you don't get the opportunity to see our posts. We post daily different quotes, videos that seeks to inspire you, to motivate you. So I want the admin to put all the links on our channel, and also on the YouTube link also that is clickable, so that they can follow us now. I want to see us grow to 200, 300. We want many people to hear this message, and we need your participation and your cooperation. I want you to spread, I want you to post our links on social media. I want you to tag us, screenshot us and tag us. That's part of your contribution to this bigger purpose. So thank you guys. So we're saying the power of positive compromise, positive rebellion. Many of you, especially in terms of the Gen Zs, you want to enforce a conviction, for example, against your parents, against an older person, against your boss. The technology is not even in you shouting. Your results speak louder than your words. We know we're talking about words, but there's a way results speak louder than your words. Jesus ran away from Herod when he was young, as a baby. He ran away to Egypt, but when he grew, growth, and I'll keep on saying our major emphasis, growth. He grew in wisdom and in stature. He was able to counter the government of his time. Now he was able to face conflict. Many people, the conflict that they want to fight, you don't even have the stature yet to challenge status quo, to challenge systems and structures yet. So, for example, you see a young person, he has a phone and is speaking against a national government. And we've seen many of them. Now, for example, they are begging that they should release a particular young fellow. For example, is he in Kenya, in Nigeria? They release a young fellow because he's spoken against the powers that be. Guys, you need to grow to be able to, for example, we've said you have to get to the policy room. You should be focused on getting into the policy room than to the comment section. The journey to comment section is shorter, but it's not profitable. The journey to the policy room is longer, but it's profitable. Your voices are heard. I was in a program one day, and the speaker, he said something. How do you enforce change? How do you enforce the convictions in today's world? When you're under authority, under leadership, you have to submit. Now work your way to the top so that when you get to power, you can influence the change you want. So the best way, for example, to change your society is to be a leader. And that's why we are raising and we are guiding the next generation of leaders. Because many of us don't know, oh, they can do this way, they can do this way, but you have to be empowered. That's why you have to grow in wisdom and in stature. So some of you don't need to respond. I want you to tag this. Some of you don't need to respond. You need to ascend. Look at that. You don't need to respond to every cock and Tom, Dick, and Harry story. You need to just ascend, because nothing silences critics like results. Nothing silences those that bully you, the naysayers, the mockers, like when you actually have results, tangible results, that is a proof of your growth and transformation. The power of restraints. Esau's redemption. Many of us know the story of Esau in the Bible. Jacob, his brother, took his birthright, and he took his birthright and all of that. And Jacob went, and they had later met. When they met, Esau had every reason to retaliate. Yes, because he said this before. He said, I'm going to kill him. That's what he said. He said, my father will soon pass away, and when he dies, I'm going to kill him. But years after, because Esau has joined the webinar that was organized by Prime Council, and he got there, he said, no, there's no point in me killing my brother, in me becoming a victim. I have to grow. Yes, I don't have the blessing, but I can do something. I can become hardworking. I can become diligent, like every young person on this call. Oh, my parents does not have money. I don't have any connection. But I can choose to start reading a book on emotional intelligence. I can choose to start reading a book on No Excuses by Brian Tracy. I can choose to take a course online, and rather than envy and just kill myself in that grief, in that regret of the blessing. No, what has gone has gone. I choose to press. I choose to grow to the next level. When they met, he didn't bring war. He brought closure. Why? He didn't bring closure because he was a good boy. Like they say in my local parlance, the boy is good, is a destroyer. That's the meaning. the boy is good means he's a destroyer. He said, I have more than enough, my brother. That's what he said. He came with 400 bodyguards. He came with many things. And because of the result he had, just like Joseph also, when he was a prime minister, he didn't have time to now, he didn't have time to. He said, guys, you thought he meant it for evil, or God meant it for good. And I've seen that people that you think naysayers, people that will bully you, mockers, and you get to the one point you don't even have to fight, because the time you have to fight it reduces your efficiency at a level. The father of the prodigal son, he chose to forgive and accept his son instead of punishment and rejection. So that is the language of people that have outgrown their wounds. You have to make sure, for many people that are grieving, that are hurt, you must choose to forgive. Sometimes healing is not about who was right, it's about who grew. Conviction without contempt. The 3 Hebrew boys, for example, did not scream. Next slide. Did not scream at the king. And we've said that earlier on, in enforcing your convictions. No, they didn't say the king asked them to bow down against their conviction. That's positive rebellion there. I've said it, they took the king's name. They didn't eat the king's meat. They ate the king's meal because they had to survive. And there are things you would do as a young person in climbing to the top. Positive compromise, not against your conviction. Your conviction is you should not idolize anybody, but you need to survive. Okay? They got to one point now, they've achieved stature, they've been promoted, they have authority, and they can say, now I won't bow down. But in saying that, they didn't say, damn you king. They didn't use the F word. They didn't say no. They didn't say you the stupid king. No. They said respectfully. If you go read the scripture, they honored the king first. And they said, no, we will not bow down. They were respectful but unshakable. Look at those emphases there. They honored authority but upheld the truth. That duality of balance there. You are strong in your conviction, but offer, and I've said it before, is a popular quote here. The communication of anything is based on how you communicate it. How effective anything is based on how you communicate it. Real strength is not in how loud you shout, it is how deeply you stand. So the emphasis is not to go viral, it's not to be loud, it's to be deep. The language of the escalation. Many of us, we know love language. If I ask you your love language, I love receiving gifts. Physical act of service. We have many. Can we list them? We have many of that. Can we list some of the love language? Can we list them on the chat? Receiving gifts, act of service, physical touch. But how many of us know our fight language? Yeah. So there's love language versus the fight language. Some of us shout when there's a conflict, when we're offended, when we're angry. Some people withdraw, like we said, avoidance. Some want logic. Others want to be heard. So it's good to know yours. As much as you have known your personality, you've known that you're an avoider or a collaborator, and already now we've made that commitment that every of us, we have to start working to make sure we get to becoming a collaborator. So you must know your fight language. Why? You want to know it so that you will now work on it, especially with those that you're in close proximity with. And this is especially tagged to those, for example, you are still living under your parents' roof and your spouse, your wife or your husband. You want to know not just your love language of your spouse, but the fight language of your spouse. That if you, for example, your wife shouts, you must know now that, for example, you don't shout, because that's going to, explode into conflict. See that? Do you know marriage has been destroyed because of this simple information I'm saying? Your love language versus your fight language. Even in friendships. And because of our time, I can't begin to share stories of friendships that have been preserved just by understanding their fight language. You can preserve that friendship. I want you guys to know this and even do more research on that. That we know we've celebrated love language. Love language is act of service, etc. But we must begin to focus on our fight language. Phrases that escalate. For example, I'm sure by now we can't always say you always. No, you don't say that. You don't in addressing an issue. You don't say you always. You never. Why can't you just? Many of them we know those things we used. You are overreacting. Everyone thinks you're wrong. Look at that. Everyone thinks you're wrong. Now we must get to that point now that we'll begin to use languages that diffuse, not just escalate. Now, no, we are saying no to escalation. We are saying yes to diffusion. You want to diffuse tension, you say, I'm curious about, from my perspective, what if we tried? You offering that suggestion. I appreciate you sharing that. You're inviting that person. Help me understand what you mean. You are bringing them into your source of reasoning. I'm curious about, I noticed. So, guys, I want you to screenshot this, and you're going to need all these things. You're going to use it because I know many people are struggling with their relationship, with their friendship, with your parents, with your boss, and these things, if taken with good heart, will benefit many people. It has both social benefits and economic benefits. Words can start wars or end them. Bible said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And you remember we said in the first webinar, existence to survival, to thriving, to impact, to purpose and legacy. And we said in purpose there that your purpose is either to reveal God to the world or Satan. And if you are talking about you revealing God in any sphere of influence, whether you are working as an engineer, a doctor, you are dispensing the life of God, you can't say you are doing that without becoming a peacemaker, not a peacekeeper. The United Nations, they do peacekeeping mission, but they've not been able to bring peace to the world, because the world does not maintain peace because of peacekeeping, but by peacemaking. For example, for the war in Israel and Iran to stop, they have to come to a dialogue. That's collaboration. And now they've enforced that there's a ceasefire through dialogue. They call it truce deal. You see, the things we are sharing are so crucial and important. So being a peacemaker doesn't mean you're avoiding or appeasing. No, that's cowardice. That's not courage. Peacemaking involves and requires confrontation with compassion. You've been, enforcing your conviction, but in a very nice way that doesn't affect the ego of another person. Practical steps to resolve conflict as we begin to conclude tonight. So I hope you guys will. I hope we've clicked on the links. I hope we've shared them. I hope we've tagged. I want us to tag us on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. I want you to share the link with all your friends. I want you to, the replay is also on the link. Click on it. Practical steps to resolve conflicts. Number one, make the first move. Yes, because now you've understood that conflict not well handled will escalate into wars, into strife. It has both, emotional, negativity and all of those. So now you understand that you are emotionally intelligent. After attending this webinar, you should make the first move. Be intentional. Conflict doesn't resolve itself. We've said that. It has to be a collaboration. Reconciliation is our ministry, especially as children of God, like Jacob and Esau. You must face it to fix it. Can we emphasize that? You must face it to fix it. I want us to hashtag these things. You must face it to fix it. Prime Cancer webinar. Vulnerability is hard, but it's necessary. You must come to that point where you say, darling, you offended me. I didn't like the way you spoke yesterday. And, and you as the darling, you as a spouse will say, no, apologies. For example, I had a bad time, had a bad day. Oh, I didn't even know, but I'm sorry. I won't do that anymore. I love you. Thank you. Come. The failure of this thing I said in 3 sentences has caused marriages of 30 years, 15 years, 5 years to dissolve, has caused a breakup in friendships, has caused a dissolve in boss and employee relationship. At work, for example, you can say, I have a few concerns, Jerry. I have a few concerns I'd like to share. Can I finish before you respond? This invites people into your conversation, not into a fight. You see that? So these things are things that we use. I'm using them daily. It's helping me, even in terms of my career advancement, because you're going to be working with different people that have different temperaments, different personality, and this framework is very, very useful. I have a few concerns I'd like to share. Can I finish before you respond? This invites people into your process of thinking, not into a fight. Listening to understand, not to reply. For example, you can normalize what we call one-to-one checks in. Have one-to-one conversation with your spouse, with your friends, a dialogue, feedback loops, open dialogue, ask open-ended questions. Can you help me understand? Like we said, is there more you would like to share? Guys, I wish you guys can get the voice behind these things we're saying, because you're going to be needing it in your journey to the top. At any level, whether it's in corporate, your corporate brand, or your personal brand, or in relation, you're going to be needing all these things. And I wish you can really take this thing as a gem. Ask open-ended questions. Can you help me understand? Is there more you'd like to share? As we begin to conclude, there is no fear in love. Perfect love casts off fear. The number two practical step is to ask for wisdom, to know what to say. Like we said, reflect. The essence of reflection is to get inspiration, to be inspired on the words. The Bible said something. It said, how forcible are right words. Let your word build people, not break people. And especially with someone like me, I speak to many people, many young people, across the day. Every day I'm always on course, counseling and all of that. I know that there's a word you can say to somebody that hurts them, that breaks them to the core. You must be careful with your words to your spouse, to your children as a parent, to your parents as a child, to your employees as a boss. You must be careful. Let your words build, not break people. The third one is own your own parts. Like we've said, you can never always be right. So don't just accuse, but confess. Yes. Look for where you have missed it also. Because if you say you're always right, that means you are suffering from different internal issues. Pride, ego, inflexibility, and these are what kills relationship. Always right. No, you can't always be right in any context. In any context. And the final one is forgiveness. That's the final act of resolution. And this is a call for many young people, from parents to children, children to parents, boss to employees, spouse, husband to wife. This is a day to forgive. Yes. Now we know how to forgive. It's not by just sucking it in, but having an open dialogue and collaborating and expressing yourself, owning your part, asking for wisdom, speaking the right words. You cannot resolve what you still resent. Forgiveness, like I said, is not for you forgetting. It is you choosing freedom. Yes, choosing freedom. Joseph forgave his brothers, but he cried. And he had an open conversation with them. He said, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. They had to have that meeting. They had that meeting. You must fix it. You must face it to fix it. Unforgiveness keeps you emotionally tied to a moment you hate. And many people in today's world, many billions of people, when you see them speak out loud words, especially on social media, you can just easily diagnose that these people are suffering from childhood traumas, from all, and many of those things. So forgiveness is not about them. It's about you. It's about your own peace and progress. And you will never be free until you free those who hurt you, even if they don't say sorry. So you see the process now. As we conclude this evening, the power of the tongue. If anyone does not offend in what he says, he's a perfect man. He must learn to apologize. He must learn to appreciate and to show courtesy. These 3 key words, let us do the hashtag. Can we have it? Normalize saying I'm sorry. Normalize saying I'm thank you. Normalize saying please. I use all these things in my relationship with my wife, with people around me, friends. It helps. It doesn't demean you. It doesn't put you. It shows that you're emotionally intelligent. It shows that you are wise. I'm sorry. Thank you. Gratitude. Apologize. Say please. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Watch your utterance. The final charge this evening as we conclude is be a bridge, not a barrier. In today's world, and I'm speaking specifically to the younger generations, to Generation X and Generation Z, in a world that profits from division, be a reconciler. Becoming a reconciler is so revolutionary. Yes. Be someone that draws people together. Be a friendly person. Be nice. Be open. Don't grudging. No. Don't keep grudges. Malice. No. Be a free thinker. Don't hurt people with your words. If all you gain tonight is a new script on how to respond, a new lens to see offense, and a deeper peace in your spirit, then this session is worth it. You were born not to win arguments. You were born to win hearts, and I'm saying that. I'm emphasizing it. You were born to win hearts. We build the walls of conflicts to show that you are better informed than the people that are making the mistake. You are born to bring clarity where there's chaos. So go right now, resolve that conflict. Make that phone call this evening. Reclaim your peace. Become a peacemaker in your family, in your workplace, in your generation. And definitely, I can see you getting to the top with all these things we've shared this evening. Thank you very much, guys, for joining this evening. Are there any questions? Can we have questions? It's been a wonderful time this evening. Thank you, guys. So you can send in your questions on our different channels. I want you to still keep on sharing. Yes, we have a book recommendation. Can you give me the book recommendation? Can we have it on the screen? A very powerful book. I know many people have come from, people have messaged me privately on our groups. What kind of books can we read? You want to understand mastering conflict resolution? You want to go read this book by Ken Sense, Becoming the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker. These things, it was carefully selected because it has both economic benefits, social benefits, and spiritual benefits. So I want you to go buy that book, Becoming the Peacemaker. So powerful. It's going to change your life. So thank you very much, guys, for joining, and see you next month. Bigger, stronger. You bring in 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 people and let them come hear sound wisdom from King's Council. Thank you, and see you next month. Bye.